Once upon a time, there was a sweet little girl named Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Red Riding Hood went to see her sick grandmother at her house in the forest. She brought lots of food and medicine with her. As she strolled through the forest, a mighty wolf approached her and asked, "Where are you going, little girl?" Red Riding Hood replied, "I'm going to my grandmother's house to give her food and medicine." The evil wolf decided to take a shortcut to grandmother's house. He went to the house and locked poor grandma in the closet. Then he disguised himself to look like her and got into her bed. When Red Riding Hood arrived, she was taken aback by Grandma's appearance. "Grandma, what big eyes you have," she said. "All the better to see you with, my dear," the wolf replied. "Grandma, what big ears you have," she said. "All the better to hear you with, my dear," replied the hungry wolf. "Grandma, what big teeth you have," she said. "All the better to eat you with, my dear." The wolf jumped from the bed and attacked Red Riding Hood, but suddenly, an RCMP officer suddenly entered the room. "Halt!" he shouted. "You are being fined $25,000 for unlawfully entering a restricted wooded area in violation of the Forest Act under the current Provincial Wildfire Prevention Proclamation." Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf, and even Grandma in the closet, were all given citations for $25,000. The end.
Common Sense Looney, that's my tune, bringing truth to the red and white moon.
Personally, I am a man.
Welcome one, welcome all. We're back with another Common Sense Looney. This is Rex bringing you the stories from the true north, strong and free, with a little common sense and a little loony on the side. We have quite a few stories for you today, from federal public service cuts to the loss of a great American food friend, and even a woman assaulted by a beer can. But let's get started with the most shocking and most important story of the day. This one comes to us from CP24 and CTV. BC man claims adult toy caused injury to genitalia, sues Amazon seller. Alrighty. A BC man has filed a lawsuit against an Amazon Canada seller after allegedly suffering a sensitive injury using an adult toy purchased on the website. The Vancouver resident bought the product from the seller Joyful CA, received no instructions on how to operate the device, according to his claim, which was filed in BC Supreme Court last week. The court documents alleged that he was injured while trying to use the toy for its intended purposes in September 2023. Okay, well, I guess, I don't know. I guess basically the item in question, sucked. I mean, really sucked. And because of that, he ended up in a sticky situation that no one saw coming. Oh. After a short period of time, the suction feature suddenly intensified, the lawsuit reads. The plaintiff tried to turn the device off, but the suction only became stronger. The suction was too strong for the plaintiff to remove his genitalia from the device. He suffered injury to genitalia, skin irritation, and a hernia, according to the claim. Neither Amazon Canada nor Joyful CA have filed a statement of defense, and neither have responded to requests for comment from CTV News this week. According to the lawsuit, the product's Amazon listing contained a legal disclaimer recommending that purchasers read all labels and warnings and directions before using or consuming a product. But the only warning specified was that the device contained parts small enough to pose a choking hazard to young children. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm done with this one, but I gotta tell you, after hearing this story, Amazon's logo will never look the same to me again. Okay, let's move on. Our next story is much more serious and comes to us from Global News about unemployment rates climbing.
It's a hard hill to climb. The most recent labor force survey by Statistics Canada showing yet again young Canadians are struggling to stay employed. Overall, Canada lost 41,000 jobs in July. 34,000 of those were between the ages of 15 to 24.
We've been following and we're aware of youth unemployment and what's been happening both in Alberta, across the country, and in Calgary. And it's been generally rising over the last, few years actually.
Now at the highest level since 2010, youth unemployment in Canada sits at 14.6%.
All right, let's dive into this economic storm hitting Canada right now. The headlines are screaming that Donald Trump's tariffs are crushing our economy, pointing to job losses like 14,000 we saw in British Columbia last month, with sectors like forestry and steel taking a beating. And yes, Trump's tariffs are doing real damage. Estimates suggest they could shave 2.1% off our GDP in the long run, and are already driving up costs for manufacturers and consumers alike. Small businesses especially are feeling the pinch, with higher input costs forcing layoffs or price hikes. But let us not ignore the government's inability to strike a new trade deal with the U.S. Mark Carney's team missed the August 1st deadline, leaving us stuck with higher tariffs than necessary. A clear diplomatic fumble that's costing jobs and economic stability. And here's the hard truth. Pinning this all on Trump is a convenient distraction, and a distraction that both media and politicians are heavily using. Canada's economy has been limping for over a decade, and the real culprits are right here at home. Since 2015, under the Trudeau government, we've seen a lost decade of economic stagnation. Productivity has dropped by 0.8% annually, with 9 of the last 10 quarters in decline. And that's according to the Bank of Canada and TD Economics. Real GDP per capita has been shrinking since 2019, well before Trump's tariffs. Why? Because we've choked off investment and innovation. Business investment per worker fell from $16,000 in 2014 to $11,900 by 2021. That's mostly thanks to regulatory red tape and policy uncertainty. And this has been noted by the Fraser Institute. Now you compare that to the US, where productivity has outpaced ours despite similar tariff pressures. The 2024 budget tried to patch things up with AI and research grants, but analysts from the Wilson Center say it's too little. Then there's the housing crisis. Rapid immigration has driven population growth, but we haven't built enough homes to keep up. Studies from 2023 warned that this mismatch would spike housing costs, and it has. Home prices in major cities are up 20 to 30% since 2015, eating into disposable incomes and fueling inflation. The Bank of Canada has stated this has turned a potential economic boost into a disaster, with higher rents and mortgage rates hitting young workers hardest, pushing their unemployment to 13.8% in July. Tariffs don't cause housing shortages. Bad domestic planning does. And let's talk energy, or lack of it. Canada's energy sector, which accounts for 7.7% of GDP, has been handcuffed by regulations like Impact Assessment Act and pipeline delays. Alberta and Saskatchewan have lost jobs, while global energy demand soars. Trump's tariffs spared our oil exports, yet we're still bleeding potential because of our own policies, not his. So yes, Trump's tariffs and our government's failure to negotiate a better deal are hurting, but not the root of our problems. A decade of declining productivity, underinvestment, housing policy failures, and energy sector constraints have left us vulnerable. Tariffs are like pouring salt on a wound we've been ignoring since 2015. If we want to turn this around, we need to cut the red tape, align immigration with housing, reduce debt, and unleash our energy potential. Blaming Trump lets Ottawa dodge accountability for a decade of mismanagement. It's time we focus on fixing what's broken at home. All right, now it's time to take a moment to say goodbye to a longtime friend. At least in my house.
In many grocery stores across Canada, a jarring sight. The iconic Bicks Pickles are not available anymore due to unfortunate tariff impacts. Amid the ongoing trade war, patriotism has swelled, but that could backfire in some cases, experts say.
That Buy Canadian is sort of coming back to bite, pardon the pun, the Canadian farmers.
Bicks Pickles are being taken off the shelves in Canadian supermarkets. This one comes to us from Now Magazine. Bicks Pickles pulled from some Canadian stores amid tariff war as Canadians voice support for local alternatives. Bicks Pickles are being pulled from the shelves by some retailers across Canada due to the ongoing tariff war, according to its parent company. American company Treehouse Foods confirmed the news to Now Toronto in an email statement on Monday. To not carry Bicks is a business decision some of our customers are making based on the tariffs, the statement said. This is a sad, sad day for me. I've tried lots of different pickles, but besides the homemade pickles my Aunt Bunny used to make, Bicks is my go-to pickle. On burgers, hot dogs, coleslaw, or just there on their own. Not only is it sad to see Bicks go, it's utterly stupid, as this article will highlight. And as stated here, despite being American-owned, the company tells Now Toronto that Bicks still uses 11 million pounds of Canadian cucumbers each year, and metal lids sourced from Canadian companies. Now, let me ask you, does this seem like a good strategy to you? 11 million pounds of Canadian-grown cucumbers are used for the product, and we're just going to boycott them? How is this logical? I understand they are assembled in America, but wouldn't it just be logical to open a Canadian assembly plant? I don't know. I'm not the expert. I'll try the locals, I guess, but I'm a really die-hard Bicks lover. I heard Lakeside pickles are pretty good. Anyone out there got any suggestions? Okay, let's move on to other news. We have a drive-by canning. This comes to us from Vancouver is Awesome, a media source I've never heard of. But with a name like that, you might want to rethink publishing stories like this one. Okay, so here it is, from Vancouver is Awesome. BC woman injured, hospitalized after being struck by a beer can thrown from a truck. Police say the 22-year-old woman was walking with 3 others when she was struck by the can that they believe came from a moving pickup truck. The woman's injuries have not been released, but police say she suffered a medical emergency and was revived through life-saving first aid on scene. She was revived through life-saving first aid. Wow, that's quite the beer can. Police say the victim was taken to the hospital and now is in stable condition. Investigators are asking for anyone with information or dash cam footage of the incident to contact police. Seriously, WTF? What the? There's no excuse for this. The only excuse for doing this is being drunk. But then if you're drunk, you shouldn't be behind the wheel of a car, right? Okay, here's a great example of someone who should be mandated to stay indoors. Ay. Our last story is short and sweet. It comes from the Canadian Free Press.
You know, there's a sentiment among Canadians, and it's pretty much across the country, of the civil service is on the large side and should be reduced. There's another question that was asked in the poll was, you know, they don't feel they're getting, you know, great value in terms of the increase. They don't think the services have gotten that much better. I think as with all these exercises, the devil's in the detail for the government, because it never fails that whatever they sort of indicate we're going to reduce here, there'll be somebody going, wait a minute, why there? So this isn't an easy situation for the federal government, but I think you know, broadly speaking, there is a strong sense in the population that something has to happen.
You know, the cost of the bureaucracy has ballooned since 2016, right? The government added 99,000 extra bureaucrats since 2016, and the cost of taxpayers has gone up extremely high. So that's why we commissioned this poll. And you know, the poll shows that Canadians know that they're paying for too many federal paper pushers and that they want the government to cut the size and cost of the bureaucracy. But the poll also shows that Canadians don't think they're getting value from the ballooning bureaucracy. So, you know, Prime Minister Mark Carney, he should listen to Canadians, and he should make the government's bureaucracy more affordable for taxpayers.
So, in summary, half of Canadians want public service cuts, while I suspect the other half of Canadians work for the government. All right, my fantastic viewers and loonies, keep those comments coming in. If you enjoy the content, like and subscribe. I love reading your comments and really hope we get more. In the meantime, this is Rex asking you to stay safe, stay strong, always thoroughly read the instructions of your sex toys before using them, and stay loony.
I'm here to cut through the haze, no disguise. Gonna open your eyes to politicians' lies. Canada's great, but led by wackos, it's true. Time for no nonsense, me and you. I'm the CommonSenseLoonie.